howdy, folks. KDOG here. Thought I'd come on here and do another collection list. Make sure you can hear me. This is going to be my top 25 favorite movies of all time. Now, the reason why I'm doing this is because, I started doing a collection video. I did my Warner Brothers and Disney collection, those series of videos, and they were pretty lengthy, and it all kind of started when the Crazy Jason, issued a challenge. I think it was about a year ago, I believe. I can't remember, but he did a challenge to list your favorite most watched Blu-rays. Now, those were most watched Blu-rays, that most watched movies or things, TV shows, whatever, movies on Blu-ray. Now, I'm going to do something similar. This is my top favorite movies of all time. This is my top 25. I thought I had 30, and I turned around and then recounted. I thought, wait a minute, I have 25. And apparently I skipped a 5 in there somewhere and got lost. And I said 15 at first, and I said, let's make it 25, and then it's 880, folks. I'm sorry. But the first film on the list, number 25, Terminator 2, Judgment Day. And this, of course, is the lenticular cover of Arnie and the exoskeleton. You go back and forth. Yeah, there we go. And this is probably not the best DVD. Some people have the tin version, whatever case that was. I think it was tin or metal. And yeah, great movie. And let me explain this a little bit. Even if the films are in a series like this, I'm going to do my favorite film, even though that's series. That's how the criteria works. Is that, like say, even if it was I'm just judging it as overall great movie. And even though it's a very, very great movie, and this is the one that stands out of that whole entire series. T2, Terminator 2, Judgment Day. I can't speak. And this is the reason why is because this movie was completely revolutionary back in 1991. This was kind of the one that pushed filmmakers to start using digital visual effects. And, ILM is still one of the best visual effects houses in the planet. Yes, I even put them above Weta Digital, because Weta Digital is just taking what ILM has done and done their own thing with it, which is excellent, I think. But the original ILM, and this was not the movie that had the first CGI character in it. Some people think that, or they'll name Jurassic Park. It's really not. This is the first movie that had the first iconic character, you might say, using digital technology, with human being and real photography, the morphing technology, along with liquid structures and things like that they could do with the computer of that time, which interestingly was the Pixar computer. A lot of people don't know that. The Pixar Animation Studios they worked for George Lucas for a period of time. And George Lucas just wanted it for the technology and to make his special effects house work, ILM. And this was one of the movies that came out of the Pixar computer. And iconic shot. It all kind of started with young Sherlock Holmes. That had the first CGI character in it. And that was in 1985. Then you fast forward to 1988. Yeah, 1988. Willow comes out, which is produced by George Lucas, and it has the first digital morphing shot. And some people, you know what the shot I'm talking about, where it goes from the goat to the llama to the turtle to the tiger. And that was the first morphing shot. Then you had the abyss with the water tentacle. And this was a movie that kind of combined all those effects together to create the T-1000 for this movie. But yeah, T2, great action movie. Probably one of the still holds up to this day, believe it or not. Also from the year 1991, we have number 24 on my list, Disney's Beauty and the Beast. And this one never ages as well. It still holds up. Even though it's hand-drawn animated, it still holds up to this day. It's probably one of the best looking movies, probably one of the best adaptations of a story, period. It's just amazing how Disney was... this was a real gamble at the time because Disney was really, really suffering. And they were looking for movies that would be big hits. First was Who Framed Roger Rabbit, then Oliver and Company, and those were modest Who Framed Roger Rabbit was the movie that put the animation back into the limelight of everyone's minds. Then Disney came out with Oliver and Company, which was a mild success. Then comes Little Mermaid, which was big. Then finally Beauty and the Beast, which was up to that time the greatest animated movie of all time. It was the highest grossing animated movie. It ended up telling the Oscars to create a category of Best Animated Film because this movie was nominated for Best Picture of 1992. Then we move to number 23 on the list, and it's Schindler's List. Steven Spielberg's second most personal film. You'll see where the first one will be later on. But Schindler's List, phenomenally filmed, and it's a wonderful told movie about the horrors of the Holocaust, and how he did it was very, very tasteful and very respectful. And I just read an interview not too long ago about the woman who's she's now a woman, but the then little girl that played the girl in the purple or reddish coat. I forget where she's from. I think she's from Europe, I believe. I'm not quite sure. And she, obviously did not see the movie until years later when she was a mature adult. And she really was not pleased. She said the outcome, was not... She was really displeased on how her character was done because they show her just crawling underneath a bed, and then you see that whole entire building just being rampaged, and people are killed off. Number 22, and people are wanting a better Blu-ray copy of this, and I can see why. It was because this film was not a huge success in America at the time. It was trying to follow along the lines of E.T. and Star Wars, obviously. But in Germany, where the story originated, it was huge. It was bigger than E.T., actually. And it's The Neverending Story, directed by Wolfgang Petersen. And, people were wanting a better Blu-ray of this because the gamma is a little too high on this. But it's a step up from what the DVD was. The DVD was in full screen and in stereo, while this is widescreen and in 5.1 DTS. So, this one is one of my top favorite movies. It's a brilliant, brilliant fantasy movie, I think, even though it only told really half of the story. But supposedly, Warner Brothers is looking to remake this with Leonardo DiCaprio producing, along with Curious Case of Benjamin Button producers Kathleen Kennedy and Frank Marshall. They were looking into producing this. I don't know what happened to that. Number 21, another Spielberg World War II flick, Saving Private Ryan. Very well done movie. It's that movie that's very realistic, and you become so involved with these characters that it's just a wonderful story, and that it spawned 2 HBO miniseries, soon to be 3. I don't know what the third one's going to be about, but they've done Band of Brothers and The Pacific, while this one, this is the one that started it all, Saving Private Ryan. So, yeah, there we go, Saving Private Ryan. Out of all the Planet of the Apes movies, my favorite one is the first one. Even this tops number 4, because of number 4 is pretty close. It is pretty close in my book, but this is the one that started it all, and it has the best, to me, the best iconic scene in the whole movie is when the spoiler alert, when the Statue of Liberty washes up on shore, and they have, I've seen the movie Spaceballs, with Mel Brooks' film, which parodied that scene in this movie. But I had seen that before I'd seen the Planet of the Apes. So when I did see the Planet of the Apes the first time, really, it shocked the heck out of me to see the scene and know what happened. Is that because you think that Charlton Heston has been marooned on this desert planet that's very low vegetation, and he thinks it's overrun. This strange planet overrun by apes, and he finds out, spoiler, he never left planet Earth. He just fast forwarded several thousand years into the future. Okay, number 19, the classic film To Kill a Mockingbird, Gregory Peck. Great movie, legendary movie. I think Atticus Finch is one of the best characters in movie history. He's got to be. It's the iconic movie where, the Depression and the whole racism and how prejudiced people are, and you find out who is really the ugly people. Yeah, To Kill a Mockingbird, great movie. Yeah, and Gregory Peck, well deserved of his Oscar in that time. This is number 18, and it's The Passion of the Christ. Of course, this just played this Easter, and on the TBN they played it uncut. Beautifully filmed movie, and it's the most realistic depiction of Christ's death on the cross. It even shows his resurrection at the end to show that he's no longer on the cross. And it's a very, very beautifully filmed movie. I mean, I enjoyed this movie so much that I got what was the coffee table book, and I paid $25 for it. A little pricey, but it was filled with all these stills from the movie, and it's just gorgeous to look at. But yeah, The Passion of the Christ. No, I'm not anti-Semitic. I am a Christian. Stop with the anti-Semitic comments about this movie. It is not anti-Semitic. Number 17, the musical Grease. Yeah, this is probably my favorite musical. I don't watch many musicals, but yeah, this is the movie that I can sit and enjoy because it is a lot of fun to watch Grease. I'm sorry you're not seeing my face when I do these because I gotta somehow get the DVD in the shot. And but yeah, Grease. It's, kids today would say like the High School Musical is a better musical. I disagree. And if you watch like the High School Musical, especially the first one, it's a ripoff of this. It seriously is. If you pay attention, it is a ripoff of this. It's just set in modern day high school, but it's the same stinking story. It's the same stinking story. You don't believe me? Go check it out for yourself and compare what happens in the movie. I'm not kidding. Watch this. Go watch High School Musical and compare the two movies. You'll see there's a lot of similarities. Number 16. I am a fan of the Rocky movies, but if I was going to pick any of the Rocky movies to be on this list, what would it be? Would it be the first one? It was an Oscar contender. It actually won the Best Picture in 1976, and it put Sylvester Stallone on the map as being his big superstar. But it follows close, because the most entertaining movie out of all of them is Rocky III, where he takes on Mr. T as the character of Clubber Lang. The reason why is because Rocky I is a very good movie. Rocky II is a great movie as well. But this is the movie that showed that maybe success, after winning the second round in Rocky II, that maybe success was going to Rocky's head. And maybe he forgot how to be a champion. And that maybe he needed someone to come in and shake things up with Mr. T. So yeah, Rocky III. Number 15 and number 14 kind of go together. And number 15 is The Land Before Time. Number 14 is American Tail. And the reason why both of these movies are so close together, they were both produced by Steven Spielberg, and they were directed by not George Lucas. George Lucas was a executive producer on this one, I'm sorry, The Land Before Time. But I would have to say they were both directed by Don Bluth, who was a little bit of trivia about Don Bluth. He was an animator at Disney during the 60s and 70s, I believe. And the studio was in decline in the late 70s. And so he decided to break away and go make his own movies. And he turned out a lot of decent movies in the early 80s, or throughout the 80s. But then in the 90s, he just fell apart, and it was bad. But number 15 is The Land Before Time. This movie, this one is about the dinosaurs trying to find the Great Valley. This is the best one to watch. Don't watch those direct-to-video sequels. They are bad. And they're not... This movie was not a musical. And it was great. The only downside is that this movie is the shortest probably one of the shortest movies ever made. It only runs 69 minutes, but it's still an entertaining movie. It's a very watchable movie, even though there was supposed to be a lot more into it. But this is what ruined the relationship, is that they were asked to cut out about 30 minutes of material, because it was supposed to be about 90 minutes. And Spielberg and Lucas said cut a bunch of this violent stuff out with the Tyrannosaurus Rex, because they thought it would be too traumatizing for children. And number 14 is An American Tail, also directed by Don Bluth. Now, there was supposed to be a third of these movies produced. It was supposed to be All Dogs Go to Heaven. But because of the bad relationship on this one, the Don Bluth said, "I'm walking away from you guys, and I'm going to produce the third one on my own." But yeah, back to American Tail. This is the one that kind of started the relationship, and very well done movie. It's, they're very, very, both of these movies are very, very similar. That's why they're so close together. It's about a young, childlike male child-like character through animals and things like that, being separated from their family, and they had to make this journey all by themselves and discover who they are. Obviously American Tail is Fievel, who's separated from his family during the move from Russia to America. And then The Land Before Time is the main character of Littlefoot, who is, his mother was killed by the Tyrannosaurus Rex, and he's separated from his grandparents, and so he has to find and journey to the Great Valley. And of course he has all these other dinosaur friends making the journey with him. Yeah, number 14 and 15... 15, Land Before Time, 14, American Tail. Great movies. Now, like Rocky, out of all the movies of the Back to the Future, the best one is the first one. And this would be number 13 on the list. Back to the Future Part 1, because that one I think has the more jeopardizing outcome. Him meeting up with his parents before they were married, and the parents, he interferes with the parents ever getting married and jeopardizing his birth. And yeah, that's kind of a important point there. Number 12 out of the Lord of the Rings movies, I think the third one is the best, Return of the King, because it's the big climax. It's where everything goes down. Stuff happens. Movie ends, and it's a great payoff. Toss the ring into the lake of fire. Now, number 11 is Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Steven Spielberg movie from 1977. I'm sorry. And this edition has 3 cuts on it. If I was going to pick any of the 3 cuts, it would be the director's cut. Now, you would say, well, why not the special edition that shows the inside of the ship? Well, Spielberg never intended to shoot that. And he only did it because Columbia Pictures pressured him into it, and because they needed something to hang a campaign on. But yeah, the best one is the 1997 director's cut, because it's the most complete out of all the cuts. Let's see, I think we're down to the top 10. Number 10, Star Trek II, Wrath of Khan. Great iconic movie, and this is just completely off the wall in terms of the original Star Trek movies. With William Shatner doing that famous yell, Khan! And, I can't do it. I mean, it's just completely iconic, and, great movie, and plus, it's probably one of the best. This is probably the best of all the Star Trek movies. Yep, number 9, The Dark Knight. What more can I say? This Heath Ledger in this movie blows Jack Nicholson out of the ballpark. And it's a great movie. And it's suffered a little bit because it's so much hype. It's because everyone's seen it, they know what this movie's about. But yeah, The Dark Knight comes in at number 9. Number 8, Jaws. Steven Spielberg hit from 1975. And, yeah, iconic movie. You know, everyone knows Dana, 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 Dana. You know, everyone knows this movie. And the sequels were terrible. But, hey, the original movie is the best. And it's a great... I never think of this as a scary movie. I honestly don't. I never thought of this movie as a scary movie. It's a great adventure thrill ride. And, you know, I guess why people are so scared of it is because you're so isolated with these 3 guys out on the boat, and there's this humongous shark that can kill. You know, it's just, gosh, it's a great movie. Number 7, now following it up, is Spielberg's Jurassic Park. You know, I mentioned Terminator 2 being a big force in visual effects. This one will be the second one, because what they did with Terminator 2 is that they realized that they can form a shape and change like a regular human being into this shape, and they could, you know, manipulate this liquid metal. But using the same technology, they kind of pushed it and let's see if we can actually do some creatures. Instead of doing it by clay animation, they chose to do it in CGI. And, you know, Jurassic Park coming back out to theaters. But, and of course, the original one, the best one. This is the best one out of all the movies. And in a way, I'm kind of looking forward to Jurassic Park 4. It could be a disappointment, but I'm looking forward to Jurassic Park 4 whenever that gets underway. I may go see the original movie in the theater in 3D, because I had never seen it in the theater. I only saw it on home video, but it's a brilliant movie. Number 6. And this is a great movie. Stand By Me. You know, classic 80s movie, buddy movie. I guess that's what you can call it, but it's, you know, it's a great movie. It's, you know, it's a timeless story. Yeah, I don't think it ages at all. It's, you know, even though it's over 25 years old, it's still fresh in your mind, because you still have your friends that you hang out with and that you share these adventures with. And the R rating, I think at the time, was a little overrated, but I can see why they rated it based on the kids cussing. And when the kids cuss, they use very, very strong words like the F-bomb. And if they had toned that down and maybe not have them say such harsh words, it probably would have gotten a PG-13 rating. But it's a great movie. Stand By Me. Let's see. Number 5. The Lion King. I remember seeing this when it originally played in 1994. I even remember where I was at. I was in Columbus, Ohio. I saw it at a movie theater in Dublin, Ohio, actually. Because I was staying at an aunt's house. She lives in a suburb of Columbus called Upper Arlington, but it's really Columbus, Ohio. And we were all kids at the time, and so we were instead of being cooped up in the house, she said, let's go out, let's go see a movie. And so she took us all to see The Lion King when it originally played. And it just blew our minds. We really enjoyed this movie. And it's one of my favorite movies of all time. I don't know. I did see it in 3D, and it was nice to see it back on the big screen. The 3D I thought was surprisingly good. It didn't look that bad, because I knew it was going to be post, but it looked really good for this post conversion. It looked really, really good for this because it moved. Everything moved like a moving pop-up book, and this is hand-drawn 2D animation, and it gave that illusion that this was on a piece of paper and that it could move, and it's and the story, again, it still holds up to this day. It never ages. Number 4, I did not see this one in 3D when it came back out, but I did see it originally in 1997. Or was it 1998? See, I'm trying to think. Yeah, early 1998. It was like January of 1998 when I saw this movie for the first time. And it was the reigning box office champion of all time for over 20 years, Titanic. And why is this up here? Because it's just a well-made movie. You can't go any wrong with this. I mean, everything looks really, really good. Again, it still holds up. This is what the top 5 movies, they hold up to this day. They hold up, either story or visually. They hold up very, very well, even though this was late 1990s CGI. It looks really, really good. And it, all they did was just convert it to 3D. They did not add any new visual effects. The visual effects were the same effects. The performances are really, really good, even though I don't think any of the actors were given... They were given nominations, but I don't think they won anything. But it won overall Best Picture, Best Visual Effects, Best Sound Editing, Best Costume Design, Best Makeup, blah, 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 and the Best Picture. It is a very good movie. It is a very, very good movie, and it still holds up to this day. Number 3, the original Star Wars. The original Star Wars, I think, holds up to this day. Even the original version, that's why I got this version. It's the un-Lucasified version. But yeah, the original Star Wars, sorry, I can't turn the DVD. It's just a memorable story. You cannot duplicate something like that. It's it's a wonderful story, and it's a great action piece. You remember when you were kids playing with lightsabers, and you take something and pretend it was a lightsaber or whatever. And yeah, the original Star Wars, number 3. And my whole pile just collapsed. But oh well, I'm almost done. Number 2 on my all-time favorite movies of all. Number 20. Let me start all over. My all-time number 2 on my 25 all-time favorite movies. The 10 Commandments. The story still holds up. Some of the visual effects still hold up. I mean, that parting of the Red Sea still gives me chills. Even though it was done optically, it still gives me chills to see that whole entire shot. If they're going to bring back any movie, like a movie that you wish you'd see back on the big screen, this is one of them. They just played it on TV this past weekend because of it being Passover. I would love to see this back on the big screen because that's the way it was meant to be seen. And gee whiz, this is just a brilliant, brilliant movie. This is a classic among epics. Now, my all-time favorite movie of all time, number 1. E.T. the Extraterrestrial. This is my all-time favorite movie of all time. It probably will not be topped in my book. iconic movie, brilliantly done, and to this day, man, I cannot express on how well done this movie was, because even though the 2002 version came out with the CGI, sorry, my head's gone, but the 2002 version with the CGI ET and the walkie-talkies put in instead of the guns, it didn't bother me that much, but because I did see that version in the theater. I never saw E.T. in the theater until then. And so it was nice to see it back on the big screen because that way I got the full experience. But I understand the way everyone feels that the CGI shouldn't have happened. They should have just remastered it and put it back into theater for a nice theatrical run. Because even though, and the nice thing about the Blu-ray, the 2002 cut is nowhere to be found on this thing. It is the original 1982 cut on this Blu-ray. And that still holds up. The story still holds up. The visuals still hold up, even though they were done optically instead of digitally. It was stop motion animation with animatronics, and the animatronics, my gosh, I was watching this with my brother one time, or we were watching behind the scenes featurette, and I was looking at him and I said, "Dang, they made that thing look real." Because there was a real person doing the hands, and that brought E.T. to life. That's what sold it. Is who cares about the jerkiness of the robot's face? It worked. It was believable. It did not need to be replaced. It's still one of the best movies ever made. It's a brilliant, brilliant movie. It's my favorite movie of all time. I used to watch this religiously as a kid. I mean, I had it on videotape, and I just watched it religiously as a kid. I loved E.T. I still do. I think it's still my number one movie of all time. But those are my top 25 favorite movies of all time. I hope you enjoyed this movie, or hope you enjoyed this video. Please rate and subscribe down in the below if you like this video, and give some thoughts of what you think is your favorite movies of all time. Until next time, see you later.